Welcome to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we delve deep into the world of entrepreneurship, marketing, and personal growth. I'm your host, Mischa Zvegintzov, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Garr Russell, a dynamic entrepreneur who founded and scaled Fireside RV Rental into the nation's first RV rental management franchise. Garr shares his journey from humble beginnings to expanding his franchise to 52 locations across the United States. We'll explore how he leveraged online marketing strategies, including webinars, to achieve this growth, and discuss the concept of OPRV, renting other people's RVs. Plus, Garr opens up about overcoming personal challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic and the importance of mentorship in building generational wealth. Stay tuned for an inspiring conversation filled with actionable insights. This is the funnest thing, though. You've expanded it to 52 locations across the United States, but you teach people how to rent other people's RVs out, in effect, right?
Yeah. We call it OPRV. Or AKA real estate.
Oh my gosh, other people's RVs, OPRV. Would you say other people's real estate?
Yep, or real estate. Yeah. It's an RV it's a house on wheels. So it's real estate. I talk about that in my latest book, my real estate story, because my first business I ever had was a lawn care business. So my title of my book is From Lawnmowers to RVs, my entrepreneurial journey with fun times, faith, blah, blah, blah. So,
yeah, anybody watching, listening right now can go to myrealestatestory.com, myrealestatestory.com, and check it out. And then if you are hearing what Russell has done, what he's built, how to leverage other people's RVs, just the story of it, any entrepreneurs, marketers, listening, watching right now, you are going to learn so much because he's literally built and scaled this business from 12. We were talking the other day from 12 franchises or franchisees, 12 locations coming out of COVID to what is 52 now. And you've done it with online marketing, with a webinar, with all these sorts of things, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. We did what Russell told us to do.
Do what Russell says. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm very excited. We talked just yesterday and you were saying, "Hey man, I was going through it through COVID. The wheels were coming off." These are my words, not yours, and I'm going to let you tell the story here in a second, but you basically said the wheels were coming off, business was about to crater. Quote, I think you said, "I need to do something different." End quote. So go ahead, tell me, take us to COVID. You've got 12 of these franchisees, or wherever you want to start in the story. I think the genius inspiration of how you came up with this idea would be great too. But you take it away. You tell me how you like to tell the story, and I'll let you do it.
Yeah. I love what you say. The wheels were coming off, right? Doesn't that totally line up with real estate?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to use that one. So yeah, so COVID. I got very passive in my business is what happened. And I started drinking a lot. But I was a good drunk because, I still took care of my family. I didn't drink and drive. I didn't beat my wife, so I was able to justify my drinking for a good year and a half or so. But what finally caught up with me was my bank account. And I realized I had a several $1,000,000 real estate portfolio, which was going to be my retirement. My wife and I never took a salary out of my real estate company. Well, what I realized is I had been slowly selling off my properties to keep myself afloat, and I was completely blind to it. And the funny thing about it is, when I finally came to the realization of what I was doing, it's because I got COVID. I got COVID and I had COVID, during COVID, like 2020, which was the really hard COVID. If you had COVID during that time, that's the one that beat the tar out of people.
The legit COVID. The legit
Yeah,
COVID.
that was like the legit COVID. Then like the, second, third time you get COVID, it's like, So this was my third time getting COVID. And actually, when I got COVID this time, it was like mental warfare is what happened. I was having suicidal dreams. I was having suicidal thoughts. It was just attacked my mind. I literally called a friend of mine who was in uh, the mental uh, field, whatever you call it, psychologist, and I told him what was happening. And he said, dude, you're the third person this week to tell me these symptoms of COVID. It was literally, it hit me mentally. Um, yeah. So this happens, this rocks my world. And I literally, it was so bad, Mishka, that I gave my wife my gun in gun safe. And I said, honey, I don't trust myself right now. That's how bad it was.
Wow. Wow. You were hitting bottom in a big, big way. Let me ask you a question quick, just to get our arms around the real estate portfolio. How long had you been working on building this thing? What do you think the value was, and how much had you sold off, if you don't mind me asking that question?
Yeah, I had started building that in about 2010. I had started a credit counseling business actually in 2008. And right when the crash happened, I didn't realize that the mortgage industry and everything was crashing. And what did I do? I started a credit counseling business, which is a really cool side note. If you don't know all the information, it's actually better because then you don't have analysis paralysis. You don't overthink. And I went and I started a credit counseling business. So 2 years into that, I started building my real estate portfolio. I had built it up to 35 doors that I owned. So it was, multi-million dollar portfolio. And I was down to about maybe 8, give or take.
Wow.
Down to 8 by the time I realized what I was actually doing. Like I didn't even realize I was in I call it my COVID coma between COVID, the alcohol, and just the poor decisions. I was tricking myself and not realizing, what happened till that morning. The morning I woke up in May 2 years ago, and I literally told my wife, "I think we're going to lose it all." And oh, by the way, take the gun because I don't trust the thoughts I'm having right now. And I texted my CEO and I fired her through text. Complete
Oh my
idiot.
God.
And praise God, actually, about 10 weeks ago, I was able to send her a severance package.
Mm,
How cool is that? I mean,
amazing.
that still brings me to tears right now. Just think of that. To see 2 years later, a little over 2 years later, that I was able to send her a severance package. Uh, but yeah, and that's when my COVID comeback began. Um, when
So
I
quick.
finally realized,
Yeah, yeah, so quick. You're almost selling off houses like people are selling collectibles. They're like, oh, yeah, I don't need this collectible anymore. I'll get a little bit of cash and sell it. And you're just kind of haphazardly selling off properties. You wake up one morning, mental devastation, and you're like, oh my gosh, we've almost lost everything. This is 2 years ago, May too. So just a little bit over 2 years ago. You hand your wife your gun, take this because suicide, I think they call it suicidal ideation. I think you're literally suicidal. Your psychologist friend, and you reach out to your psychologist friend. All this is going on at the same time, right?
yeah,
So what happens? Like you have the moment of clarity, or take it from there, however you want to go from there. But I'm right now, as I'm listening to this, going, oh my gosh, you've rebirthed and done what you've done. It's incredible in just over 2 years and a few months.
yeah, it's that saying, "But God," because it literally it shook me, and I just started digging into my books. I was realizing mistakes that were being made, and it was one thing after the next. I ended up going to Funnel Hacking Live and learning all these new systems and processes. I brought on my COO. Uh, it was an amazing journey. One of the things I love about the Lord is is obviously right. I'm just beating myself up, you know. And for those of y'all that, believe in the spiritual things, I've got something else that's attacking me, right? The devil, the enemy of my soul, is telling me the piece of crap that I am. And I'm sitting there one day and I'm just thinking about all this. And as I'm digging myself out, and and I think of this like, Garr, you literally sold your whole retirement. And I just hear the voice of God just whispered in my heart, and he says, I knew this was going to happen. And he just went on to say, could it be that I actually let you build that real estate portfolio to protect you from yourself for when this happened? And man, that just brought me to tears. Like, how amazing is my God that he knew the idiotic mistakes I would make. And right, and you hear about this in the movies, right? Or Russell Brunson talks about this, the hero's journey, right? You get to the mountain of success, and then you lose it all, and then you come back, and I literally walked through the hero's journey, and I didn't realize it until I learned what the hero's journey was, that, oh my gosh, I'm on the hero's journey. And thankfully I'm on the part where I've like come back to my senses and all that. And yeah, and fast forward to today, here we are. And it's just, it's amazing. It's amazing. And part of my mission now is to help, because there's so many others that during COVID lost their business, right? Maybe not from stupid mistakes like I had, but just because the economy shut down or whatever, they got COVID, they ended up in the hospital, or a loved one died, or whatever. There's so many people that went out of business during COVID. There's so many entrepreneurs sitting on the sidelines right now. And there's that next idea is right there, just waiting for them to grab it and start running. And so that's part of my mission, is share my junk, share my sin, share my struggles, so other people can know, hey, you're not alone. And that will inspire them to start writing their COVID comeback story.
I love it. The COVID comeback story. So you're going through the books. You've quit drinking at this point. I love that. I'm assuming you're still not drinking, right? You've by the grace of God knocked that
Yeah,
out of your life.
The grace of God and Tony Robbins. I got to give Tony Robbins credit, because alcoholism runs very heavy in my family. I've literally had family members drink themselves to death, and I've stopped drinking for periods of time and then started and stopped. But this time it's like with COVID, it really just grabbed a hold of me hard. And I'm listening to Tony Robbins, and he's talking about the number one reason why people change or don't change is pain. The pain has to become so great to stay in your current state that you decide to move, because now it's less painful. So that's what causes us to move. So I sat down, I literally made a list. In 2 minutes, I listed, I forget now, it's been almost 2 years. It was like 47 things I listed of why it's painful for me to continue drinking. And the one that got me was, I have a 15-year-old daughter now. Well, a couple years earlier, now she's 15, and she's starting to be social, right? And hang out with friends and, go to events. That's the one that got me, is what if my daughter called me and she was in a situation where she didn't feel comfortable, and I couldn't go pick her up because I was drunk. It literally just like, I don't drink no more. It clicked that fast. Like Tony Robbins says, it doesn't take a long time to make a decision. You make a decision in a second. At that moment there, I made the decision. I'm done with alcohol.
Amazing. Wow. It's how it works for some of us. We get that moment of clarity and we've hit bottom, and we turn it over to that higher power, God, your God. I loved how you said your God spoke to you. Got the chills. I got the chills when you were talking about that. So powerful, such powerful testament. Our mess becomes our message. And God bless you for freely admitting that state you were in just a few years ago. I mean, that's good. It's beautiful. I just love it, because it is so empowering for other people who might still be in that COVID mess mentally, right? We're past COVID, but maybe that just brought them closer to the bottom, and they're struggling and bouncing along the bottom. And Let's rewrite their COVID comeback story, or rewrite their story, give them a COVID comeback story. It's beautiful. I guess, tell me how, when, why you wake up one morning and you're like, oh my gosh, people have RVs. It's an asset sitting underneath a storage facility or something. People should be renting those out. Or how's that come about? And then how are you teaching people to monetize that, to be able to rent other people's RVs, in effect, rent out other people's RVs? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, yeah. Property management, basically, just like a property management company would rent out your Airbnb or your home for you. That's what we
Yeah.
do. And it started like most things start. It started with pain. I bought my wife this beautiful 32-foot travel trailer for our 10-year wedding anniversary. And I bring it and I set it up in Grand Haven, Michigan at the beach and just all the things, I think, I'm amazing. I'm the best husband ever. I just crushed it. And she's at the campground and she says she's going home. And I thought, oh man, what did I forget? I've really put time and energy into planning this out. She's like, no, I'm not coming back. She's like, this is horrible. I'm miserable. It's hot. It's windy, the sand, all the things. And looking back, in hindsight, it was in her defense. She's 7 months pregnant. She's chasing a toddler around. It really wasn't like the camping, but that's how I took it. And so literally being an entrepreneur, right? And I had some real estate portfolio, and I've been an entrepreneur, kind of stuff. I thought, well, heck, I'm going to rent this thing out then. So I literally threw it on Craigslist, and within a couple hours, I'm getting messages of people that want to rent my RV, and that's really how it started. It spiraled from there. Let me see if my cousin wants me to rent her RV out for her. Let me see if my neighbor and yeah, one thing led to the next, and that was the new business venture I was doing.
Amazing. And your tribe is called Fire Starters, so you teach people with the Fireside RV franchise how to go find other people's RVs so that they can property manage those RVs and generate an income and make that delta. So, right, I suppose it's like, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Yeah. Or the difference
Yeah.
between, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the thing that we do. The fire starter is kind of like your tribe and your community, right? You help people get on podcasts, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, your tribe really, it's about getting your message out to the masses and inspiring people and making them aware. Really, that's what I feel like I do at the end of the day. It just so happens to be that we rent out other people's RVs, but really a fire starter is, what are we? We're a tribe of Christian entrepreneurs that want to do life together, inspire each other. We want to impact our family and our community and our church and all these things. And by the way, we rent out RVs, so if you want to learn about that. But yeah, that's to us, that's what a fire starter is. That's kind of part of our tribe mantra, is it's just trying to make a positive impact on each other, on the world, be able to live life on our terms.
I love it. I've got someone who's listening right now who's our age. Well, I'll speak for me. I'm assuming you're the same age, mid 50s, who maybe has retired or burned out at work or done with the corporate thing or got laid off through COVID or is just an entrepreneur ready to start something again. Sell me on starting a Fireside RV franchise. How easy is it? How much capital do I need? How fast can I get rolling? I think I saw on a piece of your marketing literature on one of your websites, like I can be up to 20 rentals in a year or something. What did I see out there?
Yeah, the cool thing about this business is, first of all, it's like Russell Brunson calls a blue ocean. There's over 12 million RVs sitting around the country. 90% of the time, they're not doing anything. A family might take it out for like Memorial, maybe 4th of July week, somewhere around there, Labor Day weekend. But otherwise, typically they're sitting around doing nothing. We're the only RV rental property management franchise in the country. So when our franchisees are reaching out to RV owners and presenting our solution, it's not like a real estate agent where, it's like, oh man, I just got 3 mailers in the week and then a door knocker and this and that. No, it's a brand new idea to them. It's a brand new opportunity to the RV owner. And the beauty of this business model is it's very low overhead. So you don't have the monthly payment and insurance and storage and repairs. The owner pays for that. And then on the other side of it, if it gets damaged, and it needs to be cleaned and it needs to be delivered, the renter is paying for all of that. So as far as the overhead operating expenses, it's very minimal for a franchisee. Even to what we do, you think, okay, well, do I need a brick and mortar location then? No, what you do is you partner with a storage facility where you group the RVs together and that's your location. And again, the RV owner is paying for the storage cost. So you have your facility and you have no overhead on it.
That is incredible. I have a friend that loves my podcast that builds things like this. He's currently in the middle. He'll know who he is too when I'm saying this. I'd say his name, but I don't want to. I don't want to. Who knows if he'd appreciate that or not? But he currently is building out rental car stuff, like renting other people's cars out, things like that.
Oh,
Right?
like
So
Turo,
yeah, yep,
Turo, like
Turo.
arbitrage or what? Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to you right now, going, huh, boy, might be a more like talk to me. What's the difference between Turo and a Fireside RV?
Yeah, we have a franchisee in West Virginia or in Virginia that he was in the Turo space and then he jumped over to our space because if you think about it, your average Turo car might rent for, $50, $100 a day, maybe more if it's more of a higher end vehicle. Your average RV is going to rent starting at $150 a day up to, we have RVs that rent for $800 a day. And you're getting 50% of that revenue as a manager. So typically your average rental as a franchisee, just on the rental revenue, you're typically netting $500 to $700 per rental. And then plus you have your add-on income. So like with the Turo, the renter might pay you to like get it delivered to the airport or something like that. But outside of that, there's not many other money-making opportunities. Well, with an RV, you can rent them linens, you can rent them outdoor camping chairs, you can rent them a camping rug, you can rent them grills, bikes, kayaks, onboard generator. You can, the list goes on and on and on. A movie package, it's just, yeah. So there's a lot more opportunities for rental revenue. Plus, this is why I call it real estate. Your typical customer that you're serving is, it's maybe the family that's going camping in the summer, but it's more than that. We have contracts with Talladega Speedway. We have a contract with Disney World. I've got a location in Vegas that we have RVs go out just to be on movie sets. During COVID, we were doing mobile quarantine units. We had, during the air show in Minnesota or Wisconsin, we have RVs going there. College tailgating, NFL tailgating, family, right? It's Thanksgiving and you need extra sleeping at your house. No worries, we'll pull up an RV. Oh, your house burnt down and your insurance company is going to pay $4,000 a month for you to sleep in an RV next to your house? Perfect, we have an RV. It's real estate, it's a house on wheels. So the uses for it are just endless. Bonnaroo Music Festival. It's just, the list goes on and on and on.
Coachella, things like that. Yeah, Coachella, things like that, multifaceted. Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you. I'm also just having the extreme awareness too. Turo, the rental cars, those are more of a day or two, where the RV, my guess is the average rental length might be 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, something like that.
Yeah, this year our average rental is 5 days. Our average booking is about $1,500. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so that all sounds great and easy and all these things. Is it a 50% margin? So you're getting 50% of the rental, including 50% of the upsells, and then the RV owner is paying for the cleaning, things like that, or how does that minutia work? Not to get too in the weeds on that, but walk us through that.
Yeah, so it's a 50% management fee that the franchisee collects. And then like the cleaning of the RV, you're gonna handle that as the property manager, but then you're gonna charge the renter, we call it a prep fee. So you'll charge the renter, say $150 prep fee, and then you'll pay your cleaner, 50 to $75 per turnover. So it's a money-making activity as well.
Amazing. The storage piece of it, are you charging a storage fee as well to the RV owner? And two things, I guess. Can the RV owner get rid of their other storage facility and just utilize you as a storage facility now?
Yes, the owner will store the RV where we are renting our location. And they'll either pay the storage facility directly or like several of our franchisees are RV dealerships as well, where they have their own property. So then they're collecting the storage fees.
Cool.
And that's
Okay.
actually step 5 of our success path is and we're just sort of working on this recently with our franchisees, where we'll partner with them and we'll purchase the real estate. So they've got a fleet of RVs. We'll purchase the real estate with them. And so now we're collecting storage revenue. Plus, you have a dump station there, so people are paying to dump their RV. We have a propane refill station. We're also selling RVs for owners on consignment. Real estate, typically you're charging like a 6% fee. In the RV consignment industry, it's a 15% fee that you charge.
Incredible. Generally speaking, are you trying to are you trying to consolidate all the RVs into one spot so it's easy for people to come and get them, or do you care about that?
Yeah, you definitely want to have them grouped together. It just makes it easier for logistics for the franchisee mainly and the renter as well. If you've got them all spread out, we tried that in the past. It got a little funny, you go to show up to the owner's house because you got their RV set for rental and you go to hook up to it and they're like, oh, I forgot to tell you, by the way, Timmy and his friends slept in it the other night, but it's fine. And you walk in there and it's trash. So you want to keep them grouped together at your facility. And that's the beauty of this too, is there's literally so many RVs sitting around doing nothing that you can be as picky to take RVs that you only get full-time possession of them. Isn't that
That is
wild? Like literally, if the owners use it 4 times a year, yeah, you're not a good fit for a program. You use your RV too much.
that's incredible. Next thing, two two trains of thought. I want to get into how we find RVs in 1 second. But before we do that, how we find the RVs to rent, because this all sounds great, but then it's like, well, yeah, I've got to find the find the person that has the RV that they want to rent, and I'm betting that it's ridiculously easy. But before we get to that, before we hit record here, you are in my influence army where your VA's in there with you and we're helping you get on podcasts, things like that. But you very graciously were like, hey, let me introduce you to some people who would probably be willing to share your influence army, your master class with our audience. Like you were just an introducer from the heart. It was awesome. And so maybe we can do a riff on that too, because you're clearly just very generous and I don't know, dare I say a giver? I don't know if that's an appropriate term. So maybe we can riff on that for a second. But I just say that because as we're talking here, I'm thinking of my friend who's got the whole car rental business going on. Perhaps he's definitely well capitalized. This is a person who we go, oh yes, a clear franchisee prospect, or it would be amazing for him. But then you also said, hey, you're looking for partners to buy land to do all these things. Would it be worth an introduction where I introduce this person to you, or tell me, let's go big picture. Like, who are you looking for? Who do you need to meet? How do you want to go big? So like does that, if I go, hey, this guy's very well capitalized, he can help you acquire properties, boom, boom, boom. Is this of interest, or does that question make sense, or do you even want to go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, and honestly, you did a good job of asking me just very simply, right? Like we talked about the other day, how you can overcomplicate asking to be on somebody's podcast. You just simply asked me, "Hey, I'm launching this affiliate program. And would you like to be involved?" I think you said, or something like that. I don't know. And that literally just triggered my brain, like, "Oh yeah, let's do this." And then here's two other people you should meet. So you made it very simple for me to say yes, and then and that's I feel like that's what we do as well with RV owners that we're looking for. We're and one of the main ways that we find our get in front of our RV audience is Facebook Marketplace. People that have their RVs for sale, and we just simply say in a one or two liner, "Hey, this is what we do. Is this of interest to you?" And it's usually a really simple, yeah, that sounds amazing. I've never heard of that. Or the polar opposite, that's super gross. Why would I let somebody sleep in my bed? Like, go away, weirdo. And so, and same with our looking for franchisees. Um, our messaging for that is very simple. When you know who you're called to serve, it's very easy to get in front of them because they know when you're reaching out to them, right? So our audience on our ads is attention Christian entrepreneurs, because that's who I'm called to serve, is Christian entrepreneurs. And so it's interesting how when you have just very clear, simple messaging, um, how easy it is to find your people. You know, and same with the step 5 of our success path, with those that we're partnering with on real estate. When we just tell them, hey, we're looking to partner with people who are wanting to create generational wealth, is our statement for that. And because to me, that's what real estate is. It's generational wealth. It's something that the real estate's not going anywhere. Our products or services may die off eventually, but that piece of land is going to be here, until the end of time.
They're going to need to put the server farms, the AI factories, the Amazon distribution centers, whatever's
Yeah.
coming to take over. They got to put that stuff somewhere.
Yeah, you're always going to need that piece of land. What it's going to be used for, 100, 500, however long this planet lasts, the land is going to be a part of the equation.
Land is going to be part of the equation, as we're all automatons with our AI chips in our head
Yeah,
working at the
yeah.
factories. Or who knows what we're doing? What are we doing? We're just replacing chips. That's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to be replacing AI server chips. That's what humans are going to be relegated to. Sorry.
I know my wife was just talking to me about that the other day because we were in Michigan, and there was it was a pyramid building built by like Steelcase, but then they sold it. And the company that bought it, it's just a huge server now. That's all this building is. And Microsoft just bought like 200 acres next to that. And my wife was like, "Well, what is that for?" I'm like, it's just to store data. Like that's all that they'll use it for.
Oh my gosh, the server farms that they're building. My entry into sales, the first 2 or 3 years were financial services. This was in 97 to 96 for a few years, financial services, retail commodities broker. I got recruited out of that. I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area into tech sales, selling what we called at the time data co-location, which is basically server farms. So this is 2000,
Mhm.
2000 peak of the dot-com boom. There was so much demand for server space, for rack space and server farms, that we were pre-selling rack space in farms that hadn't even been signed off by San Francisco County, right? That like the what do they call that
Wow.
one? The the city needs the building permits hadn't even been done. It
Uh-huh.
was it was insane. But again, we're having a rebirth of that right now with all the AI
Yeah.
stuff, all the server farm stuff. It's much more mundane as far as new tech in the server space. Point is, on this little riff, is that Google, Microsoft, they're buying like thousands and thousands of these chips now, like 15 billion chip, $15 worth of billion, $15 billion worth of chips at a time. That's why Nvidia's doing so good. It is insane.
Wow. That is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I want to go
Where
back to,
technology is going. And then you
yeah,
think about that, something that whatever happened several weeks ago, and then all the airports were shut down and stuff. It shows you how fickle it all is, right?
you know what? I'm old enough now, Gar, where it just hit me the other day. I think I am officially middle age, probably past my midlife crisis now because I was like, man, I'm old enough that I'm not going to and I realized that I'm not going to get to see a bunch of cool stuff. I was like, man, assuming I, die in 20 years, what the average male in America lives to 75 or whatever it is, plus or minus a year or
Uh-huh.
two. I was like, man, in 30 years, it's going to be so insane and I'm not going to get to see it. Anyway, who knows where all this is going. I want to get back to you want to speak to any of that for a minute? I've sort of been rambling on about that stuff.
No, no, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, amazing. So the tell me how the real estate partnerships work. What are you looking for there? Maybe dive into that a little bit where you're like, yeah, you touched on it, but if you want to give that a few more minutes or
Yeah, as far as the real estate, what we're looking for is up and operating storage facilities. If they have like rolled storage doors, 10 by 10s, 10 by 20, stuff like that, and then room to expand. That's what we're looking for in a storage facility, because then that helps our franchisee just kind of diversify with having that the specific income from the roll-up storage, and then the land to add the RVs to, and then plug in the different pieces of Fireside as well. Yeah. And
yeah,
real estate, you look at the wealthy and generational wealth being passed, and it's just real estate is where it is, you know.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Anybody that's listening and is going, oh my gosh, I have been looking for something to do. It sounds easy and fun to rent out other people's RVs. I think the best way for someone to do that with you, if they want to know more, is go to www.firesideRVrentalfranchise.com/content. Is that the best place for them to find you for that?
Yeah. I don't know if you have to go to the /content off the top of my head, but if you just, yeah, if you go to the website that you said, yep, that's
Yep.
perfect.
Cool. FiresideRVRentalFranchise.com. Everybody,
Yep.
FiresideRVRentalFranchise.com. Okay, so you've built this up. You've got 52 franchisees. Now you're growing like gangbusters. You're building partnerships. You're building generational wealth, looking for real estate opportunities, all this stuff. That's awesome. Sounds to me like your true passion, though, is after hitting bottom, is I really want to inspire and help other Christian entrepreneurs. So maybe dive into a little bit about that. I definitely want to give you space to talk about that because I know that's almost more important to you.
Yeah, it really is just serving entrepreneurs. In my book, I talk about entrepreneurs and wantrepreneurs. There's such a large audience of people out there that they have the entrepreneurial gift inside of them, but it's that faith over fear, right? Of just stepping in to the entrepreneurial journey, and so I talk about in my book about ways to know that you're an entrepreneur.
Ooh,
And a couple of the indicators are, if you're driving down the road with your spouse or friend or whatever, you're always sharing these ideas, or like, hey, wouldn't it be faster if we had this to do that? Or wouldn't this be a cool idea? Or man, I sure wish there was a service I could hire that would do that. If you're always finding gaps and needs in product or services out there, to me, that's one of the indicators that, hey, you're an entrepreneur. Um, you're just at the entrepreneur stage, so I love helping call people into that gifting. And one of my favorite scriptures says that the gifts and callings of God are without repentance. And so before I started I call it my BC entrepreneurial journey before Christ, I was a very successful drug dealer. So I was using my entrepreneurial skills. They just weren't for the best. But once God got a hold of my heart and I realized, I am an entrepreneur, and I understood the definition of that. Then I naturally just, moved into my first business that I started, which actually my first business, Mishka, that I started, this was after I got out of jail for running the drug house. I started a restaurant delivery service. So this was in 2007. Okay, now we have DoorDash and Uber Eats. Dude, I started that in 2007. I started an RV rental delivery business.
An RV rental delivery business?
No, sorry, a food delivery business.
Food delivery business.
Food delivery. Hey, that's another way you could introduce here. No, so I literally, what I did was I went around to the local restaurants. I got them to give me a discount on their menus. And then I put all those into one book. And then I brought all those around to the local businesses and hotels, marked it up, and I charged a delivery fee. And I started guaranteed, right? Because my name is Garr. I started guaranteed delivery service. And we started a restaurant delivery service. And my drivers started ripping me off and this and that, and it kind of imploded on itself because I didn't have enough, business skills. But so anyway, it's just so cool, encouraging, helping people realize that they are an entrepreneur if they have these certain traits. And then really, why do people not step into the entrepreneurial journey or continue it? And if they have a failure, it's that fear, right? It's that fear of failure. It's the fear of losing it all. Some people, it's the fear of success. So for me, that's my main passion, is helping encourage entrepreneurs in their journey. And I could talk on and on and on about that.
I love that. Really quick before we dive into that, do you have any favorite stories of any of your franchisees, like success? Like, oh yeah, Bob bought a franchise and it cost him this much to get started, and now he's doing this. Or any, what's your favorite story?
Yeah, I definitely do have several of those. I was just talking to Ben, my sales rep, who is also a franchisee. He has 2 franchises with me, and he does my sales calls for the franchise opportunity. And we were just talking about how slow October is, and everybody's saying, oh, it's, let me wait till the election and I'll let you know. And so I'm just encouraging them on that. But then I'm also encouraging them, I'm like, hey, Ben, when people come up with these objections, which really they're fear-based, I said, share testimonies of our other franchisees. And so we were literally just talking about that before I jumped on this with you. And there's several of them. I said, when people who think, I just don't know if I can do it, I don't have a lot of, experience. I said, tell them about Tammy in Pennsylvania, who was a stay-at-home mom, who she moved from Florida to Pennsylvania. In Florida, she was a teacher. Pennsylvania, she became a stay-at-home mom, but she felt like she still wanted to contribute to the family income. So she started renting their RV out, and she was doing well. And then she stumbled upon me in the Fireside opportunity. And so how Tammy went from being a stay-at-home mom to having a 6-figure Fireside franchise that she actually operated for several years. She sold it. And actually, the funny thing about this story, Tammy was the CEO that I fired through text. So the cool thing about this whole story too is Tammy had started sharing with me several months before, like, man, Gar, I really want to get into real estate. Like I want to start doing real estate. And so she was, checking out these masterminds, doing these classes, reading these books. And in hindsight, Tammy and I have talked, several times since me firing her, and I got to give her that severance package and everything. And I said, Tammy, do you think you ever would have jumped into real estate if you wouldn't have been fired? And probably not, right? So it's so cool how so many times us taking life shoving us one way or the other can actually be used to move us into our next entrepreneurial step. And so Tammy is a story that I love. Matt and Christina in Arizona, they're an amazing testimony about, they started with us during COVID. Right when COVID hit, Matt got laid off. They asked him, hey, you can take a severance. Well, they were going through marriage issues, this and that. Matt decided to quit drinking. And Christina heard one of my podcasts or stories or something about my entrepreneurial journey, and that inspired them. And they joined Fireside, and amazing things happened. And they did multiple six figures a year in their location. They're still with us. She's actually looking at selling now and starting a wedding planning business. Us entrepreneurs, we can only do something for so many years, then we get inspired to the next journey. But yeah, that's what it's all about. And I'm sure you have some amazing stories like that as well of people that you encourage and inspire, and then they land that first podcast or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And to see the transformations, the confidence, some income, it's so powerful to watch someone transform when they follow the simple little steps.
It sure is.
Let's call this a great place to end. Before I hit stop, I would like to ask you, inevitably, when we do hit stop, you walk away, you're going to go to be getting the kids, and you're going to go, oh, I wished I'd have said, or I meant to say, or I had this final thought. Anything come to your mind before we hit stop, Garr, that you want to say?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because there is one thing I always want to make sure that I share outside of my faith in when we're having these conversations. And the biggest thing is find yourself a mentor, find a model. As entrepreneurs, especially, we think we need to go and create something from scratch, and that's just not needed. When you can plug into a mastermind group, when you can find yourself a mentor, when you can find yourself find somebody who has a proven model, bite the bullet, cut the check, swallow the pride, and do it. And think about it from this perspective. If you can literally, like Tony Robbins says, if you can grow a decade in a day, why wouldn't you? Think about it, you open a book and you can literally read somebody's whole life story, and you pay $20 for that book, and you get to learn the ups and downs and the mistakes and what worked and what didn't. That's somebody's book of their life story. You can literally join a mentorship program of somebody who's still alive that you can physically talk to about your problems as you're going through them, and get the encouragement and the coaching and everything. So that's one thing I always love to encourage people on. Get into a mentorship program, join a mastermind. Man, I've been in several, and I'm in 2 right now, and there's nothing like it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Garr. This has been awesome. You've got to go grab the kids. We want to make sure happy wife, happy kids, happy life. You've dropped so many bombs. I know you've inspired people. I'm going to hit stop. We'll say goodbye offline. Awesome. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.